Welcome once again to another Chef Knives to Go quick look product review. I'm Steve Gamache, and what we're looking at this time is the Hiroshi Kato VG-10 Suminagashi, or another word for Damascus wa, or Japanese handled Bunka, a 165mm knife. So that's a mouthful. So the core steel on this line is a VG-10 full stainless steel, which is a widely used quality stainless steel and a lot of knife lines across the planet. The heat treat's about 61 to 62 Rockwell on that core steel. The construction is a nickel soft stainless Damascus or cladding, and the Suminagashi just refers to these layers that you get, that pattern that you can see when the grind starts in. So again, it's a nickel soft stainless Damascus that gives you the different colors that peek through. It's been acid etched, so the etching brings out the differentiation between the metals and the dark and the light, depending on which metal it's affecting. And so that's on either side of that VG-10. So it's a very dramatic look. Here's a close-up of the blade. And you've got hand-chiseled kanji on it. It's a little hard to see unless you're at the right angle because it just kind of blends into the pattern. But this is a very dramatic looking knife, so it's a really cool look. So if you like some bling, here's your bling. Plus it's got the performance to back it up, so best of both worlds. And you can see it's ground pretty thin. You can see how much core is showing through at the edge there. So this thing's ground quite thin. And then they've got this thing was sharp out of the box, so they've got the edge bevel on top of that. You can see that shining there on the very edge. So this thing was, I don't know, 6 or 7 out of 10 on the box edge. It's got a really nice edge on it. And it's also, as long as we're up here, it's got a pretty thin grind at the edge. It's a good performing knife, it really is. So let's back out again here. So the weight on this, and the weights and edge lengths will vary, the dimensions will vary a little bit from knife to knife. This one's about 116 grams or 4.1 ounces, so it's light and flickable. Edge length is about 170 millimeters from the tip to the back of the heel. The chin are about 6.7 inches. Overall length about 12.3 inches. It's a pretty thin blade. The spine coming out of the handles about 1.8 millimeters. And on this Bunka style, it pretty much just holds that. You might thin up just a touch, but not really much. And then you make the turn at that reverse sword tip and hit that corner, and then it thins up on the very tip at the grind. And the tip's quite thin. It really does well through things like onions. Blade height is pretty generous at 47.5 millimeters at the back of the blade, so you've got loads of clearance. You've got the curved choil back of the blade into the continuous curve into the neck, so there's a lot of good space there to put your finger in for a pinch grip. Balance point is just in front of that choil, the back of the blade. So the balance point's about right there. So it's a little behind a pinch grip, but this is a short blade and the handle's not super light, so that's kind of where your balance point is, but it's really flickable. The handle's really well done. It's an oval ambidextrous rosewood with a black packerwood ferrule. Pretty tight handle install. I can feel a slight bump between the ferrule and the rosewood, but it's not much. It's really a pretty nice handle install. Handle circumference is like 74-ish, 75 millimeters where the ferrule meets the rosewood, and so pretty standard size for this style of blade. Let's see, we showed you that. So this ground thin at the edge, performance is really good. Sometimes on these that have the acid etched finish, you'll get a little more drag through product, especially kind of really moist product. This one, for whatever reason, doesn't seem to exhibit quite that to the degree that I find on some other knives, so I was very pleasantly surprised. One of the things that this knife kind of actually excelled on, which I wasn't expecting, is I cut a lot of eggs, hard-boiled eggs for tuna salad, and I usually cut them in half, and then I put them, cut half down, and I slide through them. And I slide through them with the tip to cut my slices, and I cross-chop that. And it really pulled through that without much stickage at all. And a lot of times eggs will just stick like glue to a lot of knife finishes, and this one went through there really, really well. I was very pleasantly surprised at that. So, again, performance is really good. You've got some nice convexing here towards, as you can see where that appears, where the layering changes on its effect. And it's just a really nice knife. So if you like looks as well as performance and you want all stainless performance, this might be a really nice option. You can see it's fairly curvy, so there's not really much of a flat spot. I can get in there before I start hitting the tip. So this will rock over most kind of smaller stuff, regular sized carrots and scallions, you know, all kinds of stuff. So it'll be good for moderate sized rocked products as well as push-pull cuts. Not a pure chopper, but it's a very smooth profile. The grinds are done really well on this. Again, it's light, it's nimble. It's fairly stiff for the thinness of it, but just an all-around really nice blade. So cool knife. Mark has really pulled in a lot of Bunka knives, so there's a lot of variety to choose from. So this is the Kato, Hiroshi Kato VG-10 Suminagashi or Damascus Wa, Japanese handled, Bunka 165mm knife.